What is the Dragonborn? It's much more of a question than a definitive answer. The Septim dynasty is regarded as dragon blood, and the Blades regard both Uriel Septim and his son, Martin Septim, as the Dragonborn. To the Nords, however, the Greybeards determine the Dragonborn. The prophecy comes from when the Dragon Slayers took on Alduin's army. Those who could shout gained the title of Dragonborn. Dragonborn is both someone who can and cannot shout. For the reasons behind that, we need to look into Akatosh and his role throughout history and in the future of the Elder Scrolls. Akatosh is directly tied to the first ceremonial Dragonborn, which is the title I'll be using to describe those who could not shout. The first ceremonial Dragonborn can be regarded in some way as Saint Elysia, who prayed to Akatosh so that they would free humans from elven slavery. Akatosh sent down the Amulet of Kings and Pelennor Whitestrake to help defend humanity during its time of need. The Amulet of Kings can be worn by only Dragonborns, those who Akatosh chooses, the people that Akatosh determines. Those people are the only ones allowed to wear the amulet. This video will be a lot more headcanon-y than usual. This video's goal is to make sense of what is the Dragonborn, and what is his role, as well as what kind of powers and potential does the Dragonborn have. And in this, I'd like to get just a little bit sidetracked as well, because we're going to be going back to Oblivion, and even somewhat Morrowind for a little bit, and also all the way back to Daggerfall, and before then even, for some of the out-of-game lore, or in books only. This kind of stuff expands out. Today I'm going to make a claim, and I'm going to try to support that with evidence that the Dragonborn is not a dragon slayer. Instead, the Dragonborn is a mark of Akatosh to directly influence the scales of time. Akatosh is the dragon god of time for anyone who's not aware, and his role within the Dragonborn prophecy is tantamount. It is overall the most important god to the Dragonborn. Akatosh's power over Dragonborns is extreme. Not only can he choose them, who is Dragonborn and who is not, but he can also give them power. It makes sense that Akatosh, the dragon god of time, would be worried about what is considered dragon breaks. Dragon breaks are when time does not line up, when multiple things in reality come true in different timelines and then zip together, creating one new universe. Dragon breaks seem to be the answer for when Akatosh has no control over which timeline is winning, when they all win at the same time. Every timeline has its own distinct features, its own timeline, its own past and future. Elder Scrolls Online is a game that is entirely within one of these dragon breaks, where time has essentially erupted into multiple different strands. I think the Dragonborn is a mark. It's a mark on someone who will lead us out of dragon breaks as much as possible, or someone who will finalize the dragon break, to zip it back together, to fix time. The Dragonborn is less of a mythical fighter and more of someone who is there to guide time, whether they're aware of it or not. For this, we need to go back and look at the Amulet of Kings. The Amulet of Kings is an Akatosh artifact. Its power is to seal away Oblivion from Mundus, the realm in which we are in. So during the Oblivion crisis, when the Amulet of Kings has no wearer, no one to light the dragon fires, thus leaving the planes of reality to meld together and allow gateways to open, this is all Akatosh's plan. And I'd like to go through this in a bit of, like I said, now stick with me here, as this is going to get headcanon from about here on out, but there is some very important pieces to this that I will be going through, so even if you don't subscribe to my theory here, maybe there is something for you guys to take away from all of this. It is possible that Akatosh left Mundus in trouble so that the champion of Cyrodiil, the player character during Oblivion, would rise and become Sheogorath at the end of the Shivering Isles. The reason I've claimed this in not only this video here, but in other videos on the channel, is because it's the only way that we get to the timeline of Skyrim. For those who do not know, during the course of Oblivion, there are multiple times where time and people become erased. During the Thieves' Guild in Oblivion, equipping the Grey Cowl of Nocturnal and using the Elder Scroll to free the last wearer not only fixes time to its original state, but also removes the identity of the wielder. So thus, the Imperial Champion, the Crusader, is no longer someone anyone can remember, no one can recall him. So for this theory to work, what we need is to assume that there has been a dragon break. And now, there are actually two Champions of Cyrodiil at the same time. And I have evidence to support this, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Akatosh first would have empowered the Champion of Cyrodiil, but did not mark him Dragonborn, instead playing as the military arm, like Pelennor did. Essentially, Akatosh would have reincarnated Pelennor through the Champion of Cyrodiil. However, at the same time as all of this is going on, there was a first hero, an anti-champion is what we'll name him, someone who became the Grey Fox and the Listener of the Dark Brotherhood, two very important roles that need to be covered for us to get to the Skyrim timeline in which there is a Dragonborn and a mostly dismembered Dark Brotherhood. So the proper turn of events is, the anti-champion first is empowered in the cell of the Imperial City. He then becomes the Grey Fox, and when the scroll is used, the true champion is created, and time replays. But because the Grey Fox has no identity, time would still remain stable. The Grey Fox then becomes the listener, while the true champion of Cyrodiil becomes the Archmage and the Grandmaster of the Fighters Guild. Now Akatosh is ready for the portals to open. While the champion of Cyrodiil is off helping the Blades and making a better Martin to become Emperor, the hero's side goal is to focus and get Pelennel's gear, and the Grey Fox, on the other hand, stops off and gets Daedric artifacts. Akatosh shows his true face and his grand plan by destroying Dagon as Martin Septim becomes the last of the Septim dynasty. Now, follow along with me because we're going into the Gates of Madness. Sheogorath has opened up a portal. He pulls both the Grey Fox and the hero right in. And to support all these claims about there being two timelines, we need to look no farther than the Gates of Madness in the Shivering Isles expansion for Oblivion. Right before the Grey March starts, and you, the champion of Cyrodiil, can mantle godhood and become Sheogorath and stop Jiggalag, the Prince of Order, you must prove yourself one last time. And in that conflict, you fight, what else, but just a copy of yourself. What I believe happens here is that the Grey Fox version of the champion dies and is absorbed into the hero. And then, once the hero becomes Sheogorath, time fixes itself once again, but in a way that is detrimental to the Imperials. For now they have no Grey Fox. The Dark Brotherhood has no listener. The Archmage is nowhere to be found, and the Fighters Guild has no military strength. All of the leaders have disappeared. No one can remember the champion of Cyrodiil, and because of this, they're left undefended. While all of this is going on, the Aldemari army is readying up arms, and they charge in right after and fight with the Imperial City. The Imperials, in a weakened state, without an Archmage, without a leader of multiple guilds, without the Dark Brotherhood even, or the Thieves Guild's assistance, because they did also help during this time to protect the city, where could they have gone? The Imperials were cornered, and they made a pact called the White Gold Concordant, which in the White Gold Concordant not only cripples the Imperial race, but also bans Talos worship. Once Talos worship is banned, the Nords have something to fight about, because now Shore is banned, which is their incarnation of Talos. But by weakening the imperialized version and calling into question the imperial man, Talos, you make the gods seem weak. And because God's powers in the Elder Scrolls are extended to the amount of followers they have, their plan is to release Tiber Septim from godhood. The Thalmor are now in control. I think that all of this ties into Akatosh because this is exactly what he would have wanted. A nation of Nords fighting again. Once again, ready to take up arms. They're taking up arms against their own brethren now. To toughen up the Nords for the return of Alduin is the main goal here. Although time has been rewritten multiple times, this is all important because timeline has been splintered. The time no longer exists in its true form. And this even started all the way back with Tiber Septim, the man who became Talos, when he used the Numidium, thus breaking time, and letting Mannimarco become a god, a man, and a moon at the same time, while orcs become people. Because before they were beasts, and nonetheless, the time has been broken. Akatosh made a plan. Now the Nords are strong again, Imperials are weak, and guess what? Well, they all need him again. They need another Pelennor. So, what does he do? He empowers, marks one more Dragonborn, the last Dragonborn, you, the player character in Skyrim, and your goal is to control the fate of time, to guide forward, to walk through the gates to Sovngarde, defeat Alduin, and zip time right back up. Because time is very convoluted, and the Elder Scrolls lore is very convoluted, and we have to go all the way back to the champion to Cyrodiil every time we want to talk about anything. And while this has been a very headcanon-y video, and I understand that, I think that this is probably the more accurate representation of the events that have taken place. The reason that all of this takes the reason that all of this time manipulation has to happen for the timeline to be proper is because without this, it doesn't make sense. And you can call it poor writing if you want on the part of Bethesda in Skyrim, and I often do, but you have to look at what has been delivered, and the fact is that by the time of Skyrim, all of the guilds have splintered out. Hell, you join the Companions, not even the Fighters Guild, and the Nords are at war, and there is conflict, and they're battle hardened, and they don't care anything else about anything, just war. That's all they're focused on now. It took the Nords out of civility, took them out of socialization, it took them in and made them battle hardened for the return of Alduin, because he knew that eventually the time would spit him out back again, and they needed to be ready. Thank you all for watching. This has been Spy Pie Gaming. I love the Elder Scrolls lore, and I think that a lot of it is just, I mean, it's expansive, right? There's too much really going on for anyone to grab one idea and just not end up going all the way back or all the way forward and trying to like explain what happened. There aren't a lot of true answers in the Elder Scrolls, and I think that's good because it leaves room for, well, for a series like this. And if you like this series, leave a like on the video, subscribe down below, and leave us a comment on what you want to see next. I'm thinking doing an Elder Scroll next because the Elder Scrolls have changed throughout time so much. They're no longer what they used to be in Oblivion and in Daggerfall and Morrowind and now in Skyrim, each incarnation has been different, and I think that there's enough there to maybe go over in a video. But leave your likes and comments down below and what you want to see coming forward. And otherwise, we have ESO content coming out all throughout the week. We do these lore talks once a week, so come back next week if you're interested, as well as go back and check out some of the very old ones that I've made. They're a bit rough around the edges, but I think some of them still hold up. Periite one's my favorite, and to the guy who commented on the Periite video, um, yeah, these things get a little headcanony, man, and this one's kind of just for you. I'll see you guys later.